he's got to be the Chris Bosh that we saw the last 3 games against Indiana. It can't be the Chris Bosh we saw, the first 3 games. He's got to be an active participant. He's got to hit perimeter shots because that's going to help pull some of those big boys away from the basket and give Dwayne Wade and LeBron James more room to operate, in terms of getting to the lane or posting up their guys. If Chris Bosh doesn't give you anything, my prediction for the Miami Heat will probably be wrong. I mean, to me, he is the key for Miami winning. Ray Allen can hit threes. LeBron James can drop 25. Dwayne Wade can drop 23 to 25. If Chris Bosh is absent in these NBA Finals, I don't believe that the Miami Heat can beat the San Antonio Spurs.
Even though the Heat obviously won Game 7 last year in Miami with Chris Bosh. Zero points and only 7 rebounds, which is okay, but not great.
Not 4 games. Not 4 games. He had played, up to that point, and he had good moments. But I'm saying to you that I don't expect another donut for him. That was an aberration. And 1 game, anything could happen. But I'm talking about over the course of a series, he's got to be present. And I'm not knocking Chris Bosh in any way. I'm telling you how important he is. He's getting paid 9 figures too. We constantly talk about LeBron and we constantly talk about D-Wade. Chris Bosh is no scrub. Chris Bosh can play this game. Chris Bosh knows how to put the ball in the hole, and he would damn sure need to. You've got to show up against Tim Duncan and the Tiago Splitters and the Boris Diaws of the world. You've got to make your presence felt on both ends of the floor. You've got to defend well, and you've got to average at least 15 a game in this series if you're Chris Bosh. You need to show up and make sure that you're somebody whose offensive game they have to respect. If you don't do that, you put more of a load on the shoulders of LeBron and D-Wade, and that's going to be unacceptable, which is one of the reasons why D-Wade got a crew of people to go over to Chris Bosh's house, have a good time during the playoffs against Indiana, whatever. He knows how important Chris Bosh is to Miami's success, especially against San Antonio. You need him to do that because, think about it, when you look at the skill set that Tim Duncan brings to the table, obviously, unlike Bosh, Tim Duncan can really play with his back to the basket. But he's formidable on the perimeter, on the wing, etc. Chris Bosh needs to do something akin to that. He has to do it.
I'm still astounded by Miami's success as a team that's a poor rebounding team. No rebounds, no rings, not in this case. And a team that really doesn't block shots. So they don't rebound, they don't block shots, and they win? They're going for a three-peat? They're back in the NBA Finals for a fourth straight time. My God, how did they do this? Well, it's because those other 2 guys are pretty good. They're pretty great. Which brings me to my X factor, and I'm going to say it again. The baddest man in Miami is Dwayne Wade. And I remind you, remember Game 4 in San Antonio last year? Spurs are up 2-1 with 2 more home games because it's the old 2-3-2 format. Right. I'd say Miami's in big trouble because if you fall down 3-1, I think Spurs are going to win the championship. Okay. And who came to play that night? That X Factor guy. That guy Dwayne Wade showed up. Remember, he goes 32, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, and 6 steals. Dwayne Wade had 6 steals in Game 4 and just took the game over, and it was a blowout in favor of the visiting team, which turned the series back around and gave the Heat a chance. That saved the series. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right. Now, let me answer the other side of this. And I want to tell you, this is why the Spurs are going to win the NBA championship in 6 games. You know why I love this question?
Why?
The San Antonio Spurs have 12 X factors. That's what I love about them. I can't give you one because I don't need to give you one. I have no idea who the X factor will be night after night after night. It might be Game 6 in Oklahoma City. Boris Diaw scores 26 points. Who knew? Played great defense. It might be Kawhi Leonard, as it was in Game 6 and 7 last year. It might be Manu Ginobili, as it has been often throughout the playoffs. It might be Patty Mills, my favorite Spur, actually, coming off the bench, bombing threes. You love him. It might be Bellinelli, who hasn't done much in the playoffs, but he could heat up real fast against the Miami Heat. I could go on and on because I can go all the way to the bottom of the roster. It could be any of those guys, which is why my prediction will be right. 12 X factors.
So we did this topic to say he was going to be right.
Well, let me tell you this.
I didn't. This wasn't my idea.
Chris Bosh, think about this. Remember when San Antonio beat the Heat by 36 last year in the NBA Finals? I'm sorry.
No.
I believe it was. I believe
By
it was.
36?
I believe they blew them out one game.
Yeah.
They came back the very next game. Miami won that game.
Game 4.
Chris Bosh had 20 points, 13 rebounds.
Was Game 3 by 36?
I think so.
Remember.
I got it right in front of me. That's what it's telling me here.
All right.
It
could have been.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at it from the standpoint that I watch the Miami Heat. And, of course, they're going to be a bevy of factors. And like you talked about with the San Antonio Spurs, they got a lot of factors themselves. A lot of guys that can come off the bench and do some things for you. Of course, I'm not saying that Chris Bosh does his thing so Ray Allen doesn't have to do anything. Shane Battier doesn't have to do anything. Norris Cole, Mario Chalmers, Udonis Haslem don't have to do anything. Birdman, Chris Anderson is going to be a factor in this series as well. You're going to need his big body. These are factors. But the key for me is that it can't always be the same big two showing up.